Welcome back, Splunk enthusiasts. This video is brought to you by Lame Creations, log analysis made easy, where we help you master the tools and techniques to become a Splunk pro. Welcome to my videos for helping you become a Splunk ninja through getting your certifications. I'm just going to be honest, I struggle when it comes to the certification process. I've seen many individuals, many have come to me, they've got their certification, and what happens? They still don't feel like they're able to do their job, or they actually can't do their job. And so they managed to pass the certification, but they didn't manage to understand Splunk. And so these video series we're doing is following a roadmap. I've got the roadmap down in the video guide down below. And the concept is to help you truly start to understand what it means to be a Splunk system administrator, a Splunk data administrator, a Splunk analyst, etc. Some of this content is going to be really down in the weeds, but you got to understand these concepts so that you get the better understanding of how your Splunk environment works. I don't want people who are Splunk certified. I want true Splunk ninjas, people who understand their environment and understand why the things work. And when they're given a problem, they can find a solution and get something that is beneficial to all. And that's what this video series is hoping to accomplish. Welcome back to another tutorial by Lame Creations, log analysis made easy. Today we're tackling a key player in the Splunk ecosystem, the search head. If you've ever wondered how Splunk handles your searches and delivers results so quickly, this video is for you. Let's break it down. The first thing to understand about the search head is it's like a conductor of an orchestra. It is a piece of the entire project. And you usually, as an analyst, will sit in front of that search head and you'll make queries and all sorts of things. But we're going to roll back a little bit of what's actually going on. You see yourself in a web UI interface, but what you don't really actually probably know is that everything you're doing from that search head is actually to create a curl command to access the API. Curl may be a little bit too tied in. The point is, you're going to be making an API call. Let me show you this. This here, if I go into my command line and I write curl -u and I put in credentials, of course, this is not the credentials for my box, but it's to give the point. I'm going to handle credentials, and then I'm going to tell it where I'm going. And you can see that it's going to this server. Clearly, you'd want to put your server name in there. And then it goes to services, search, jobs. And then it does a post, and then it will post in the information it needs, and then it'll do a search, and here's my query that I'm sending it. And it all sends it here, and then it gives it back the output mode in JSON, which then comes back to your search head and then displays it. Or in the case of it comes back to your machine. What am I getting at here? This is how you do everything from the command line. But in reality, even when you're local, you're using this. It actually uses HTTPS localhost 8089. And so everything is a curl/API command. And what the search head is doing is it is the graphical user interface, so you don't have to actually write all these curl commands. When you access a single indexer, it'll send the command to that indexer, and that indexer will send the data back, but it's all through the API. If you search, as I said, if you have a standalone search head that's also your indexer, it will still do this, and it will send it to itself and send the data back. A real easy way of knowing that is, I learned this when I was setting up Cribble on my system, and they both use port 9997. All of a sudden, I couldn't forward data anymore, even though it was local. I had a Splunk instance, it was a search head indexer all in one, and it couldn't even write its own internal logs to itself. Why? Because it needs that API to call itself, and it then sends it in on that port. You block the local firewall ports, this thing doesn't work anymore. Splunk works almost exclusively on APIs. And the reason I'm trying to tell you that is it helps you understand that that's what the search head's doing it's actually going to control a lot of things. The search head is the brain of your search operation. It's the part of Splunk that you interact with when you type in a search query. But when you do that search, the search head takes charge. Its job is to distribute the search across indexers. So as it said, it's going to control what machines you're going to talk to. It's also going to control the authentication and the session management and everything that's involved in this API command. So if you recognize that in the background, you got this API running, but the search head makes a really easy interface for you to make all these API calls. All right, so what does the search head do when it comes to distributing the search? You're on the search head, you type in a query, and depending on how your search head is set up, it might make that API call to a single indexer or multiple indexers, and it will distribute out that load. And we'll discuss this more in another video about indexer distribution, but why would you want to have multiple indexers? I'm going to give two use cases. You might have different environments and you want to be able to search them. There's a reason that you have an environment over here and another Splunk environment over here. You can put a search head that actually searches both environments. And all you're doing is just setting up the user permissions so that this search head can make an API call over to this environment and can make an API over to the call to this environment. Or you might have multiple indexers in the same environment and they're called an indexer cluster, and your data is distributed across that. And the reason you do that is to improve performance in search. But the point is, ultimately, indexers hold your data, and your search head is going to go out to each of these indexers and query them. And then they're going to do the work in a distributed type environment. So this one will do the work, and it's only going to look at the data that's contained within itself. This indexer, for all intents and purposes, when it comes to searching, is completely unaware of indexer 2, and it's unaware of indexer 3. So it's just going to look at the data that it contains. This indexer is only going to look at the data it contains, and indexer 3 is only going to look at the indexer's data that it contains. The search head is that orchestrator that will say, I want the data, and it will call out and say, I need this data. And if this data exists here, it'll get it back. If the data exists here, it'll get it back. If the data exists here, it will get it back. If it doesn't, this indexer will just not do anything. And the whole point is to spread out that data. If you have just one indexer, or in the case of this, the search head was looking at itself because it's a standalone instance, it is going to take a lot more resources. So you want to distribute that out. Additionally, if we go back to this concept, notice we've got passwords here. The search head is responsible for managing user sessions. This means it keeps track of who's searching what and ensures that your search results are delivered to you and not mixed up with someone else's. It's like having a personal assistant who remembers exactly what you asked for and brings it right to your desk. So you come out here, you logged into the search head, that gave you your credentials, and then when you make a search, it creates a search session. So when it sends out all this data, realize that you may have multiple queries going against this thing. And so in order to make sure it knows where the data that's returning goes back, it creates a user session and it sends it back to the search head based off the user and the query being sent. So just basically to sum this up, this conductor here, this search head, it's going to be using lots of things. Ultimately, it's going to be using a REST API, and it's going to control all of that. As it sets out searches, it may search across a single indexer, many indexers, and ultimately the indexers will send back the data in a user session, and it will control to make sure that you get the proper data, and analyst X gets the data that they're querying, and analyst Y gets the data that they're querying. There's one more thing. The search head also handles things like search optimization and result formatting. It makes sure your results are not just accurate, but easy to read and analyze, whether you're looking at a simple table or complex visualization. That's all handled in your SPL query if you use table commands, however you want your data to come back. This is kind of an oversimplification, but this is what a raw log, this is what your indexer is working with the whole time. The search head works to make sure that your data comes back in a nice viewable source. So for example, it'll do this parsing out and pull back the logs parsed like this. You might run a table command and have it look really nice, such as, we'll just go table arc. Something like this. So the search head is responsible for formatting and displaying things so it's easy for the user to understand. As I said, to sum it up, the search head is the conductor of an orchestra. It directs the indexers, manages your user sessions, and ensures the final performance. Your search results is nothing short of spectacular. Thanks for tuning in to Lame Creations, log analysis made easy. If you found today's video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on the latest tips, tools, and tutorials to boost your log analysis skills. Want to take it a step further? Become a member to support the channel and gain exclusive early access to videos and exclusive focused training. Join us on Discord where we dive even deeper, share insights, and tackle questions together. Until next time, from Lame Creations, where we help you go from being a lame analyst to a Splunk ninja.